Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's installment of Let's Talk About It. I'm Rolanda Chambers, the owner of Golden Voyage Travel, LLC. Golden Voyage Travel has been in business for over 15 years. This week, we're going to talk about cruises and why a cruise vacation is one of the best experiences that you can ever imagine. But before I get into all the good information that I have for you, I want to do a little housekeeping. I invite you to visit our website, www.goldenvoyagetravel.com, and join our mailing list so that you can get all of the great information about upcoming trips that we have available for you to enjoy. Also, like us on Facebook at Golden Voyage Travel and follow us on Instagram at Golden Voyage Travel. And of course, because this is YouTube, I definitely invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can stay in the loop with all of our great information that we share with all of our viewers. So definitely subscribe, like, follow, and visit. And we'll see you at Golden Voyage Travel. Now let's talk about cruises. I hear so many people saying that they've never been on a cruise before. Let me tell you something. You don't know what you're missing if you have never been on a cruise before. Now, of course, a lot of people are concerned with being on the water, being exposed to maybe getting seasick and things like that. Well, there are many things that you can do to mitigate some of those experiences. There's medication that you can take. And as far as being on the water and being scared about it, a lot of what goes on in cruises is enclosed. So you don't have to be near the water unless you're in the pool, of course, or at the spa. So there's nothing to be afraid of when it comes to cruising. Another great thing about cruising is that it is an all-inclusive experience, meaning all of your meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks are included in the cruise pricing. Now, there are some cruise lines that have specialty dining restaurants, and that sometimes comes at a cost, but it's a very nominal cost, nothing like what you would experience if you were going to, say, a five-star restaurant. For most specialty restaurants, you can eat for under $30 to $45. So again, everything is included, but there are some things that you may have to pay for, but that's always an option, not a requirement. All of your drinks are available on deck, unless, again, you're buying a specialty drink, but there's a way to overcome that as well with a drink package where you pay for everything up front and you can have all the drinks you want. And that could be anything from water to juice to soda to alcoholic beverages, all a part of a drink package if you choose to purchase one of the drink package levels. You also get to visit other countries. Now, let's say you have never been out of the U.S. before. You don't have a passport, but you want to go on a cruise. I still get people who say to me, Rolanda, I can't go on a cruise. I don't have a passport. And I say to them, guess what? You don't need a passport to go on a cruise. And the reason is because there have been provisions made for people who cruise without a passport. Under the Western Hemisphere Travel Initiative, which you can read about in detail on the State Department's website, state.gov/travel, if you are a U.S. citizen and you leave and return from the same U.S. port, you are on what's called a closed loop cruise. Again, let me define what a closed loop cruise is for you. If you begin and end at the same U.S. port, even though you have entered into other countries, then you are on what's called a closed loop cruise. Now, let me give you an example of what a closed loop cruise looks like. You're sailing from Miami. You're going to the Bahamas, maybe to Cozumel, Mexico. So that means you have now visited two sovereign countries, two foreign countries. You get back on the cruise ship and you sail back to Miami. You have just completed a closed loop cruise. Now, that only applies to U.S. citizens. So if you are not a U.S. citizen, the rules for you are different. But for U.S. citizens, closed loop, you're good to go without a passport. Now, when you sail from one U.S. port, visit other countries, and end at another U.S. port, you are not on a closed loop cruise, and there are requirements that are needed in order to sail under those circumstances. So let's get into the type of documentation that you can use in order to sail if you don't have a passport. The first is an enhanced driver's license. Now, let me tell you, an enhanced driver's license is not the same as a real ID driver's license, which many of us need to get, or many of you, I have mine. But a real ID driver's license is not sufficient on its own for you to sail without a passport. An enhanced driver's license is. Now, if you don't have a passport, you don't have an enhanced driver's license, what else can you use? You can use your birth certificate. It has to be either your original birth certificate, or it can be what we call in the legal field, a true test copy of your birth certificate, meaning you've gone to the Department of Vital Records from the state where you were born, you've gotten a copy of your birth certificate, and you have gotten that state agency to stamp your birth certificate, certifying that it is a legitimate birth certificate. So if you just show up with a copy of your birth certificate that you made at your local copy supply store, more than likely that is not going to be permitted and you will get turned away. If you laminate your birth certificate because you want to preserve the integrity of the certificate itself, you will absolutely get turned away. It needs to be something that they can touch and feel. And again, you can take your original birth certificate, or you can take a certified copy. It must be certified by the Department of Vital Records from which state you were born. If it is not certified, then it is considered just a regular copy, and it may not be, and I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, be on the safe side, it may not be accepted. In addition to your original birth certificate or certified copy, you need a government-issued ID. That can be a military ID. It could be your regular driver's license if you don't have an enhanced or a real ID driver's license. It can be your regular driver's license. Also, if you are over 16 years old or 16 and over, you need to have those documents. For little kids, the birth certificate is sufficient, but if you are 16 and older, you must have a photo ID. So if you're 16 and you have a driver's license, then you should use that. If you don't have a driver's license, you should have some type of identification card that your state issues for people who don't have driver's licenses. They look just like a driver's license, but it's an ID card. It is required if you are over 16 years of age. So, of course, now I'm going to say this, even though you are not required to have a passport in order to sail, we always recommend that you get one. And here's why. You never know what's going to happen. And if you get left in destination because you weren't back on the ship in time, or there's some reason, maybe medical or whatever, that you have to fly back to the United States, those documents are not sufficient. Once you leave the U.S. borders, you are now traveling internationally. And in order to come back in, if it is not back on that ship, if you're flying back in, then you have to have a passport to come back in. So even though you don't need it, we do advise that you get it. But don't let that stop you from cruising because, again, you don't really need it. And I'm going to say this, it's up to you whether or not you want to get one. I recommend that you get one, but let's say with the delays in passport processing that's going on right now, if you don't get it in time, just use your birth certificate and your government issued ID and you'll be fine. So that is pretty much it about how you can cruise. Now let's talk about cruises specifically. There are many cruise lines out there, some that you're more familiar with and some that you may not have ever heard of. One thing I like to say is that all travel products have their own personality. So if you are a family with small children, you may not want to cruise on a cruise line that is geared toward adults, geared towards seniors. You want to cruise on a line or take an itinerary that would be more geared toward your children and yourself, family activities. If you want to go on a romantic cruise with a loved one and maybe you want to minimize the number of kids that you encounter, then there's a cruise line for that. Let's say that you are down for the shenanigans. There's a cruise line for that. So there's so much out there for you to experience, and it's waiting for you. All you need to do is book yourself a cruise. Now, if you want to get more information about going on cruises, I certainly invite you to reach out to me and ask the questions that you have. You can contact me by telephone at 410-401-0300 extension 1. You can email me at trips, with a plural, trips at goldenvoyagetravel.com, or you can visit the website and fill out one of our contact forms. Again, I definitely invite you to visit our website and learn more about our company and what we offer. Again, it's www.goldenvoyagetravel.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Golden Voyage Travel, and you can like us on Facebook at Golden Voyage Travel. We make it very simple for you to get in touch with us because we want to show you the world. So this is the end of this week's Let's Talk About It segment. I invite you again, please subscribe if you found this information useful to you. Please subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up in the future, and go back and watch some of our older videos as well so that you can get the information that will make your travel experience fantastic. So I'll see you next week when don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. I got to think about it. If you have any suggestions, let me know. But otherwise, I'll see you next week on Let's Talk About It, and we're going to do just that. Talk about it. Bye-bye.